This video is about setting up sleeping in total darkness and some of the whys and hows. And this is specifically about setting it up on a budget. There are certainly really expensive ways to do it that are possible, but when I went to set it up, I wanted to have a really inexpensive way because I wasn't sure if I'd like it or I'd find it necessary, and I didn't have a lot of money to spend on it. So I'm going to share what I did. This might not be the best way to do it. It might not even be the cheapest way to do it. I started to do it a different way than this with cardboard, and it's really hard to get the light to not go through cardboard when you're taping it all together. So I decided not to do that. Plus, that looks even uglier than what I'm about to do. So what I'm about to do is not the most aesthetically pleasing. But again, I don't really have $600 per window to set up darkness therapy. And I say darkness therapy because apparently there's studies out there showing that sleeping in total darkness can be really beneficial. And I'm sharing it in particular regards to having a diagnosis of bipolar disorder. And so I learned about this sleeping in total darkness as a therapy and as something that can help bipolar disorder from a guy named Peter Smith. And he has a website called balancingbrainchemistry.co.uk. And he has so much information on there. He has his own, I believe it's naturopathic practice in the UK, and he does do some consultations on Skype. So I spoke with him, and all of his information is on his website. So if you can't afford to have a conversation with him, he pretty much has all the information on his website if you have the time to comb through it all, read through it all a couple of times to really get what he's talking about. But then it's still good to talk to him, which I did do. And he told me to set up total darkness for sleeping. And so I was looking at an inexpensive way to do it. And so, first of all, why sleep in total darkness? It really helps you sleep, or me sleep, I should say. I set up total darkness therapy sleeping, and I can easily sleep 12 to 14 hours. Now, this isn't necessarily good and functional per se, but one of the things that Peter Smith recommends setting it up for is when one is experiencing mania and even psychosis. Being in total darkness apparently can mitigate some of that, and there even could be a study out there, and of course consult your doctor, and this isn't medical advice and all that stuff, but there's studies out there where people who were in mania and psychosis were put in total darkness, and I'm pretty sure they weren't even given meds, but if they were in there for 14 hours, which could be a little traumatizing if one's not understanding what's happening, especially when in those states. But anyway, if one's in total darkness for 14 hours, it goes away, or it's as good as antipsychotics. I don't know exactly. So here's a little interlude with the study, and there could be more studies, but I just found one really quickly. And it's in the Journal of Bipolar Disorders and International Journal of Psychiatry and Neurosciences. It doesn't have the full article available for free, but just quickly going through the abstract, it says Darkness Therapy for Mania, a Pilot Study. And 2005, Barbara Barberini et al. There, I'm citing it hopefully properly. And it says, recent findings suggest that extended bed rest and darkness could stabilize mood swings in rapid cycling bipolar. So this is rapid cycling, which doesn't quite make sense with the next part. I'll go on to that, but we exposed 16 bipolar inpatients affected by a manic episode to a regimen of 14 hours of enforced darkness from 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. each night for 3 consecutive days which is DT, darkness therapy. Pattern of mood changes were recorded with the Young Mania Rating Scale, YMRS, and compared with the control group, yada yada yada. And they were the treatment as usual. So the results, adding darkness therapy to treatment as usual, resulted in a significantly faster decrease of the Young Mania Rating Scale scores when patients were treated within 2 weeks from the onset of the current manic episode. And that's where I say the background part doesn't make sense because, well, it depends on the rapid cycler, because sometimes people cycle daily. So, treated within 2 weeks of onset, that makes it sound like it's not quite rapid cycling. But I don't know the definition of rapid cycling. It could be every month or something. But anyway, when duration of current episode was longer, darkness therapy had no effect. So it's saying the longer that the manic episode goes on, there's no effect in darkness therapy. And follow-up confirmed that good responders needed a lower dose of anti-manic drugs and were discharged earlier from the hospital. So that's just a little bit there. Obviously, feel free to look it up more yourself, but it's showing that it could help if there is mania, if there's darkness therapy available. But Peter Smith is saying that by having it daily, then it could prevent mania and help one stay balanced and functional and all of that wonderful stuff. So I've been doing it for 2 months and I'm on the up part of my mood swing. I'm slowly going to go up for the next few months, and then I'll hit a wall where I go psychotic and then go depressed. So we'll see if this helps to stop that, if I don't go super high, so then maybe I won't hit that wall where I go into psychosis. We shall see. But for me, partly the point of it is that I've gotten to the point in my journey where I can go through mania, psychosis, and not go to the hospital. So I'm looking for ways to get through it more easily. So I've never had total darkness set up and available for when I go through a crisis to see if that helps. So that's something I'm going to do in the future. But for now, part of the reason I have it set up is that I'm on a program through Peter Smith to work on balancing some of my neurotransmitters with natural means like supplements and vitamins. So that's a whole huge website full of information which he has. So I'm not going to go into that. But the point is, when I'm starting to learn how to do this, which is something he does because he has a diagnosis of bipolar himself. So that's another reason why I trust what he says, because he has bipolar. He has had it for, say, 15, 20 years. He's a naturopath. He's been trying to figure out ways to navigate it without so many medications and things, and he's learned how to do that over 15 years. So if he tells me set up total darkness and try it out and have it set up, if I'm going to do what he does in terms of supplements and things, then I set it up. I don't go look into the studies because I don't want to spend 15 years researching what he already has. And this is harmless. It's setting up darkness in a room. If it was something more serious, I would look into it more myself. But anyways, so this is specifically for people who have a diagnosis of bipolar. And Peter Smith was saying this could really help people if they knew about it. And it's inexpensive and it's non-invasive. It doesn't harm. So having a room available that one can stay in for 14 hours in total darkness is good. And also, I've been sleeping 14 hours often, and I've never slept that long in my whole life. And I've been letting myself sleep because I've been going through a rough time. But so with total darkness, I would need an alarm to wake up for sure, because I don't know when the sun rises and I don't really wake up naturally. But again, that can be good for times when, say, we're feeling kind of low and we want to just sleep. Well, the total darkness really helps with that. So it helps to pass the day by sleeping it off. And that can also help to perhaps prevent mania in the future, because we are able to sleep because there's the total darkness. And I've been doing it for 2 months, mainly through a low period. So I actually think it might have made me feel even more low. It's wintertime here, and then I had total darkness set up, sleeping in total darkness, so having even more darkness than the minimal hours of light there already are. Plus feeling depressed. I think it kind of made me more depressed, but I was okay with that because I was sleeping most of the day anyway. There wasn't many days to be awake, or wasn't many hours to be awake anyway. So it made things easier. But for the future, I'll be setting this up, and I will be setting an alarm to get up at a reasonable time because I'm getting better. So yes, total darkness or blacking out the room can really help. And I've never set this up on this particular window. This is a new bedroom space for me. I set it up on a previous window in a room I was staying in. It was a bit bigger. Maybe, I think those ridges on there are going to make it easier to block out the light, actually. Because the edges are really harder than you would think to get that light to stay out. Even in that other room, it wasn't total darkness. I had a little bit of a light spot in the bottom right corner there, and then the door, I didn't control the hall light, so a little bit of light got in. I found a way to block most of it, but I wasn't really sleeping in 100% darkness, but I could not see anything. I waved my hand, so it was total darkness more or less. So I'm looking forward to it even being more dark now and seeing how that is. Hopefully that makes some sense, and I don't think this can really do any harm. It could do harm in terms of sleeping a lot more. I slept 18 hours one time and it was like nothing. 16 hours a couple of times. It was helpful. I was on night shifts for 1 month, graveyard shifts, so when I was sleeping during the day, it helped to have the total darkness. I was living in a room, like my whole space was just one bedroom, so it wasn't really ideal to have darkness set up. If you have only one bedroom to yourself, because you're somebody who was labeled with a mental illness and you're struggling and maybe you don't have your own space yet, it's not the greatest to have this set up in your only space, so hopefully you have access to some daylight. This is going to be better for me because I have more space now and there's other windows that I don't have to black out. So ideally, if you have a space and there's a room with one window, sleep in that one as opposed to the one with 2 or 3 if you can, unless of course it's by some noisy room or furnace or something and you have to block out more windows. So I chose this room as my bedroom, and this is the window. It's a lot easier than the other window, except it's higher, so I need some stools. And now I'll get to the actual good stuff here. So I did some research, and like I mentioned, there could be cheaper ways to do this. You can always put boxes up or something. I wanted to try these shades that they make out of paper. So I found something called a Ready Shade Out Pleated Shade, and Ready is spelled R-E-D-I, and I bought it on good old Amazon, and they are 48 inch by 72 inch, and it came in a 6-pack, so there's 6 of these things, and it was $40 Canadian, and so I got free shipping on Amazon. And forgive what it looks like, I was setting it up in the other house and I had this extra one pulled out. So I used some of the clips that they gave to keep it together. I think there's 2 more in here. So it goes a long way because I already used 2 or 3 sheets. I'm not sure. So that's the good thing about buying this too, is you can set up more than one window, or you can keep the other ones for if you're moving and you just want to rip the other part down. I haven't taken down the other window yet. I'll probably cut around to keep the paper and waste some of it. And it comes with an adhesive part here so you can hang it. But I haven't tested to see if this sticks and makes a mess on the window. And this isn't my house, so I don't want to ruin anything or make someone have to repaint something. So I might actually just use regular tape, which could also do some damage and, you know, doesn't look very pretty, but the point of this isn't to look pretty, it's to block out the light. So just seeing this thing, which accordions down, you can imagine that it's not going to look pretty. The window looks pretty right now, it's not going to look pretty. And I'm going to close the shades because nobody needs to see paper on the other side of the window. So it turns out I need more height, so I'm going to stand on this stool, which I don't recommend. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to stand on it, but I'm going to try. There, so I taped it on the top, and what I noticed from the other place is it actually needs 2 layers. So let's see what happens. It won't be totally black unless I put 2 layers. And the good thing is I can cut off that excess at the bottom and utilize that for at least part of the second layer. And I'm going to keep it so it's taped right under the lip here. I'm not going to stop it here or here or here. You would be surprised how hard it is to keep the light out. You would have to put several layers to keep it out. But I'm thinking if I have this lip under here, this window is actually really good for it. That might just keep it out. So I'm going to cut this along this line here. Now without the weight it kind of creeps up, so maybe I should have left some more. We'll find out. But let's see if this will tape. Yeah, so this pulls for sure, so it might want to snap down because of that. So keep that in mind, that when you have the whole thing hanging, it's going to be more okay with and I would recommend taping it along the whole bottom. You would be surprised how light comes through this. Now, if you live with anyone, they might think you're kind of weird, and I don't blame them. So yeah, this could be done a lot prettier, more expensively, less expensively. This is the way I did it. And it worked pretty well. The point is to keep the light out, and if you have a designated sleeping space, I'm going to use this room only to sleep and have my clothes in. And I'll try to find a study that shares the benefits of this for people with bipolar. So if you're somebody who realizes that the higher mania goes, the more the depression is going to be, and then you start to experience mania, this is a tool that can help to bring that down. And I haven't yet tried that because Like I said, I started doing this when I was in depression and psychosis. But I'm thinking that having this available for when that happens again, it could really help. And I experienced psychosis and dissociation. So I'm looking forward to seeing if this helps. And I seem to experience a relapse into all of that. Oh, I didn't do these ones very well. Every 8.5 months, 8 to 8.5 months. So I have it in my calendar when it's going to happen again. So this time I'm going to be more ready. This is like building my fortress and getting ready for battle with myself. And I'm not the type that when I go into mania, and I don't really experience mania, it's like a very slight hypomania. And it seems to be that hypomania, and then boom, I hit a wall, and all of a sudden I'm terrified, I'm slightly psychotic and confused. And like I said, now I've managed to do that and get through that without the hospital, which is a long story, and I don't recommend it unless you've gotten there step by step slowly over many years. Anyway, I don't know what I was saying, but being prepared and seeing if this helps. And I'm kind of scheduled to go into that same psychosis and then down into a depression in mid-June. So I'm going to see if that does happen, which it probably will, if this helps. If this helps to mitigate psychosis. I sure would hope so. Because otherwise I'm making my window really ugly for no reason. And I made some extra space over here so I can fold this. Now I'm going to see if this one is as long as the other. It pretty much is, and that's just one sheet. I can cut it here. And this one will need tape on the top because it doesn't have the sticky stuff. Alright, so that's not done. I probably need another layer, and then I'm not going to finish it today. I'll put on the other layer tomorrow, and then also when it's more light and there's 2 layers on and the side parts aren't taped over and covered, I bet you anything there'll be light coming in and I'll have to fix that. There could even be light shining through the top and the bottom. I don't know how, but my goal for this window is to get it 100% dark. So again, that doesn't look great. I could have left more length so it wasn't so stretched, because eventually it could want to fall off. So let's see what that looks like. It looks totally dark to me, but once I allow my eyes to adjust, I'll start to see light. And I'm going to turn off this light in the hall. So I'm going to try it again. So it looks totally dark, but I'm starting to see light on the sides. And there's a little bit of light in the hallway. But even just with that, quickly doing it, most of the light is gone. And then the thing too is it's about 4 o'clock or something, so it's getting a little bit darker outside and it's a cloudy day. So yeah, now as my eyes are adjusting, I can see light shining through each edge. And eventually if I stood here, I'd probably see light coming through the blind. So tomorrow I'll test it again when it's in daylight. But I think I can tell I, of course, have to do the sides because the light does come around. I could even tape the sides now and then see if that does the trick when I check it with the light, the sunlight going tomorrow. I don't know if it shows on the video how much light is coming through now, but it's quite a bit. So I only used 1.5 sheets so far, and I have 6. So I'll use another 1.5. So for a window that this one is 65 inches, I'm not sure how many it is tall, it uses 3. So you'd still have 3 to do like a door jamb, which that's very tricky. If you have hallway lights that you don't control, it does get tricky for sure. That's how it was at my last place, and I'm hoping this place I won't have that trouble and I won't have to worry about the door jamb. And to go along with this, you know, if you do choose to just hang it with the adhesive and then let it hang and just that's good enough, just for sleeping in darkness reasons, not therapeutic for bipolar reasons. They have these clips and you can fold them up and clip them up. It's a little bit awkward, but it does work. Another thing is Peter Smith recommends getting blue blocking glasses. So I got these on Amazon. They were $17 Canadian, and they came in this box. They're UVEX, and they're safety eyewear. And he recommends that if you're not sleeping for 14 hours with the darkness therapy, that it's good to block the blue light a few hours before going to bed. So I haven't been doing that because I was sleeping 14 hours for a long time, 12 to 14 hours. But now that I'm sleeping a bit less and I'm getting up early, I'm going to start trying to wear these starting at, say, 6 p.m. and then, say, hopefully going to bed by 9 or 10. And then that way, if I sleep 8 hours, I'm still getting 12 to 14 hours of darkness when combining the glasses plus the shade. And this is supposed to help prevent mania. And don't quote me on that. I would look at Peter's website for all the details. But basically, if being in total darkness for 14 hours stops mania, then being in total darkness when one is well and not manic might actually prevent it. And why would we want to stop mania? Well, if we don't get super high, we're likely not to get super low or go into psychosis if that's something that is part of one's cycle. It's part of mine, and it's worth trying to find ways to lessen the effect. So I'm going to start wearing these soon, and I do like sleeping in total darkness. I think I sleep better. I feel more rested. The only thing I would say is I sleep too long, but now that I'm feeling better, I don't mind setting an alarm and waking up after 8 or 10 hours sleep or even 6 hours because I'm feeling good, and it's okay if I'm up for a long period of time during the day. I'm feeling curious and interested in things. And yeah, so I'll show the rest of this. And again, this isn't about aesthetics. It's about getting it done for inexpensive and with a material that is light and easy to use. And I am happy with the product. So I'll leave it like this for tonight and see if the light does indeed shine through tomorrow at midday through one layer. I know it shines out the sides, but we'll see if it shines through the actual blinds. Pretty sure it does, so 2 layers is good. And again, I'll see as time goes on if it does help to prevent a mania. And this is for people who want to slowly but surely learn to navigate the ups and downs, the highs and lows by themselves. And which doesn't mean in complete isolation, It means, taking that responsibility. Of course, going to the hospital and reaching out for extra support when necessary, but slowly learning things in time that help to lessen the highs and lows. Because Peter Smith teaches how to make one feel a little bit more high. So if I'm in a depression and I can take some supplements that make me feel a bit more high, while I'm in danger of going too high, so if I sleep in total darkness at night, it sort of undoes that. So in that way, one can do things to bring oneself up without the danger of bringing oneself up too high. And these are the things I'm sharing as my lived experience of trying them. But for the details, I would really consult with Peter Smith. And thanks for listening, and I'll do part 2 tomorrow. Plus, I'm kind of bored of doing this now, and I'm not sleeping here tonight anyway, so it doesn't matter.